chaos still fills the halls of Capitol Hill as Donald Trump and actually Donald Trump's boss, Elon Musk, poke and prod at the MAGA Republicans and have them sway in all different directions, killing their previous bipartisan bill to stop a government shutdown. You know, it's never a good thing when you're the Speaker of the House and Fox is running graphics like this. Who should replace Speaker Johnson as Speaker? Who should replace MAGA Mike? Elon Musk? Vivek Ramaswamy? Unelected bureaucrats? You've got Jim Jordan, Byron Donalds, or Tom Emmer as well. Fox definitely put the Emmer one in right there. And then they're having the guests show up like MAGA Republican Congress member Dan Muser, who's saying the real issue here is that we're not really anything other than Donald Trump's rubber stamp. We got to be Trump's board of directors, do what he says, and we shouldn't question anything, even if Elon Musk is pulling Donald Trump strings as well. Play this clip.
The Francis Scott Key Bridge, all that other nonsense in a CR that was supposed to just have disaster funding and economic assistance for farmers. All right, so they added the garbage. We removed the garbage. Republicans need to get on board with President Trump. He is the commander in chief. He is the president. He is the decider in chief, and he's the CEO. You know, our role is really to be more of a supportive board of directors so we can implement what the American people voted for. And my colleagues need to appreciate that, or there's going to be trouble, then we won't be able to deliver, and we'll lose over time. Most importantly, the American people will.
More of a supportive board of directors. And didn't Americans also vote for like lowering the prices on things? And hasn't Donald Trump been out there saying, no, that's going to be too hard for him to do? What are we talking about lowering the price? Things aren't going to get lowered anyway. I'll show you one more clip right here of a Republican Congresswoman, Claudia Tenney. And here she's saying, actually, this is all part of a sophisticated four-dimensional high-level chess by MAGA Mike Johnson. Here, play this clip.
To vote for. We cannot get everything we want in this bill. And the speaker knows that. The speaker is playing high level chess while so many of our colleagues, unfortunately, are playing checkers. They're playing into the hands of the Democrats who control the Senate. Schumer, every time people like Victoria and some of these other members get up and say the same old kind of message board rhetoric you're seeing that she's, kind of putting out there, Chuck Schumer rests easy. He says, "Oh, they can't lead. They can't put themselves together."
I don't know. Let's call in Democratic Congress member Jake Auchincloss from the great state of Massachusetts. Congress member, what do you make of all of that?
Well, first of all, I think we need both a constitutional lesson and a corporate structure lesson for Congressman Mauser, because number one, Congress is not a supportive board of directors for a president. Congress is a separate co-equal branch of government designed by the founders to be a check and a balance on the executive. We are not accountable to the president of the United States. We are accountable to the American people, and they expect us to use our own judgment in how we govern, not simply be a rubber stamp for Trumpism. Also, a side note, a board of directors actually is senior to a CEO, not junior to a CEO, but we'll leave that one aside for our Republican congressman. And then I think we also may need to reflect on chess terminology, because when I think of Speaker Mike Johnson, I think of a lot of things, but chess grandmaster is not one of them. I think it is quite clear over the last few weeks that whatever moves he's playing on the chessboard are not those that is going to win him a world championship.
So tell us what's going on. I mean, we've been covering this. There was apparently a deal at first, a bipartisan deal, that Democrat leadership thought that they had an agreement with MAGA Mike Johnson. MAGA Mike Johnson was going to introduce the continuing resolution for a vote. Elon Musk then goes on his social media platform and starts posting photos of himself with samurai swords and saying "Kill Bill," and then saying anybody who votes for this criminal bill should never be elected again. And then the MAGA Republicans broke their deal with the Democrats, killed their own bill. Then they introduced a suspension of the rules to try to push through some Frankensteinian version of the previous continuing resolution that removed pediatric cancer care and would allow business to happen and allow no restrictions on business in China. What's actually happening right now? Because there's a lot there's a lot of moving parts.
A lot of moving parts, a lot of noise. And candidly, I think a lot of what Musk has been saying is more noise than signal, actually. The defining paradigm of this continuing resolution fight is actually the same paradigm as has been in place for the last 2 years of the 118th Congress, and that is this. Speaker Mike Johnson has a very narrow majority in the House, a couple of seats. That means that he can pass legislation one of two ways. One, he can do it on a partisan basis and pass it with a narrow majority. Two, he can do it on a bipartisan basis, in which case he needs functionally 2/3 of the House of Representatives, because if he does it on a bipartisan basis, he can't get it through his own Rules Committee to get to the floor for a up or down vote. The challenge that he has with the former option, with passing legislation in a partisan basis, is that he's got, depending on the issue, somewhere between 5 to 50 members of his conference who are just reflexively going to be no. Literally whatever he puts forward, funding for Ukraine, raising the debt limit, funding the US government, not funding the US government, whatever he puts forward, because of the dynamic within Republican primaries and how extreme that electorate is within Republican primaries, there are guaranteed to be between 5 and 50 members who will be against the speaker. He could say the sky is blue and 5 to 50 have to say, nope, the sky is green. That means that to do anything, he actually really needs to work with Democrats. That, of course, exposes him to attacks from his right flank. Now, in the past, whether it was about funding the government, whether it was about supporting Ukraine and Israel, Mike Johnson has bent towards governance and worked with Democrats and withstood the slings and arrows. You may recall that Marjorie Taylor Greene filed a motion to vacate the chair after he funded Ukraine, and Democrats did the right thing by Speaker Johnson because he had done the right thing by America and its allies. He tried to do that same thing here. He tried to work with Democrats to do a responsible government funding package, and predictably got attacked by the right. What's different this time is that it wasn't just Marjorie Taylor Greene, it was Donald Trump himself. And that really scared Mike Johnson. And so now we have this predicament of arithmetic versus political fear. Mike Johnson needs to work with Democrats to put anything forward that is likely to pass the House, and yet he's afraid of his right flank and his speakership. And only Speaker Mike Johnson can fundamentally resolve that problem. Democrats can't save him from not having a spine.
You know, people hear these terms, though: continuing resolution, stopgap measures, suspension of the rules. What does this all really mean, though, in terms of messaging this to the American people who are heading into Christmas? They're now very worried because Trump made all of these promises about lowering prices, and now people are Googling, what's a tariff? How's mass deportations going to impact the economy in certain sectors? Wait a minute, mortgage rates are going up. The stock market had a 10-day streak where the Dow Jones declined, the first time that's happened in over 50 years. And that kind of follows Donald Trump showing up at the stock exchange and being asked a softball question by Jim Cramer: should American workers invest in the stock market? You don't get much more softball than that if you're Donald Trump. And his response is, I don't know. I worry that there would be a dip, or words to those effects. Doesn't exactly inspire a great deal of confidence from Mr. Accordion Hands, who made all of these promises. So what does this mean to the American people in simple terms? And are Democrats messaging this the right way?
I think Democrats would be mistaken to focus on Elon Musk, or even for that matter, Donald Trump. I think we should focus squarely on congressional Republicans. If you look at which institutions, which personalities have the trust of the American people, have the benefit of the doubt from the American people, the element that is the least trusted, that Americans are most likely to deprive the benefit of the doubt from, it's congressional Republicans. And that actually happens to intersect with what's actually happening here. So I think you start from a premise of, this is about, forget about unelected people, forget about people who are going to be in office next term. This is about the Speaker of the House. The budget passes Congress and it's signed by the current president, who's Joe Biden. And it's Mike Johnson who has to solve this problem, because it was Mike Johnson who created this problem. And it's Mike Johnson who has the power to govern. So we have to focus on congressional Republicans, and then we have to make clear what decisions congressional Republicans have made. And here are the decisions that they have made. One, they have chosen to try to sweep away Donald Trump's political baggage rather than ensure that holiday travel is seamless for Americans. Because what Donald Trump asked for was get rid of the debt limit problem for me next term and get rid of everything else in the bill. Well, what that does is it clears the decks for Donald Trump politically next term. It deprives Democrats of more leverage as he tries to pass party line funding bills. And it sweeps away funding for air traffic controllers. So number one, congressional Republicans chose Donald Trump over doing the right thing by the American people. They chose his politics over the country. Number two, they caved to special interests. We had, as part of this bipartisan deal to fund the government, muscular reforms to the health insurance lobby that would lower drug prices for patients, for taxpayers, for pharmacists. It was going to go after the drug pricing middlemen known as pharmacy benefit managers and meaningfully rein them in. That was bipartisan. That was saving money for the federal government. And mysteriously, when Republicans went behind closed doors, they kept in some health policies, but that one fell out. And I wonder who last spoke to Mike Johnson, particularly because it was only a couple of weeks ago that Donald Trump was out there talking about taking out these drug pricing middlemen. So between that comment and this end of year Republican CR proposal, someone got to Mike Johnson. And what did they say to him? And what did they threaten?
You know, and then finally, what's your overall message, though, to the American people now heading into, this inauguration coming up next month? Were people seeing the chaos already and the posts that Trump makes, the threatening of our allies, Canada, Mexico? He did a new one about the European Union, going after our friends. I mean, I saw, you had the president of France and the prime minister of Poland kind of mocking Donald Trump's handshake. It's a lot of noise. It's a lot of drama. It's a lot of. And I think one of the things that people liked, even just about the interview I did with President Biden that's on our YouTube channel now, was just that you say what you want. There was no drama. It just happened. So I guess what do you say to the American people? I mean, you're a steady hand in Congress. You served valiantly for our country overseas. People are nervous. What do you say to them?
We're about to start 4 years of reality TV with Donald Trump as a chaos agent and with Republicans having a narrow majority in Congress. That recipe, right, of a volatile chief executive plus narrow margins in Congress means that you're going to have breathless cable news and social media cycles. And my message to the American people is Democrats are not going to engage in the outrage Olympics. We're not going to get distracted. We're not going to let Donald Trump play fetch with us where he's doing one thing and we're chasing after it and not focused. We're focused on three things. One, we're focused on lowering costs for the middle class: housing, energy, education, childcare. If Donald Trump has good ideas about that, we'll work with him on it. If he doesn't have good ideas about that, we're going to fight him. Number two, we're going to support the rule of law. Nobody's above the rule of law in this country, not the president. Everybody deserves due process, from our newest arrivals and immigrants to federal officials. Number three, we're going to protect national security. We're going to work with our allies. We are going to contest China, Russia, and Iran as they seek to upend the Pax Americana. That's our focus. We are not going to get disoriented by Donald Trump's antics. We've been here before. We know what we're doing.
Congressman Jake Auchincloss, thanks for joining us, as always, here on the MeidasTouch Network. We appreciate you.
Thanks for having me on again, Ben.
Everybody hit subscribe, and let's get to 4 million subscribers. Thanks so much.
Real quick, Meta just changed their algorithm to suppress political content. Please follow our Instagram @MeidasTouch right now as we head towards 400,000 followers so you don't miss a beat.